Nurture and support begins in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Nurture and Support, the recommendation podcast sharing all the awesome since 2013. I'm Mel at Karmic9 around the internet and beyond, and back again, as always, is Kelly.
Hi everybody, it's Kelly Tool at KELLYTHUL on Twitter, and I'm glad to be back for another week.
Yep. I'm glad you didn't say, I was putting forth the Amazon Prime directive, because they've been in the news lately. Anyway.
Yeah. Have to adjust the intro.
Yeah, I don't support slave labor. I'm a victim of slave labor. So, anyway, I have a cool recommendation for everybody this week. It's zombies and it's free. So, those are two awesome combinations. There was I guess you would call it a television series. We probably in the US would call it a mini-series. But this aired in the UK in 2008, and it was called Dead Set. Have you ever heard of this?
I have not.
Okay. It was created by a guy named Charlie Brooker, who, if you're a Netflix junkie, he's also responsible for another show called Black Mirror that I have heard very, very good things about, but I have never gotten around to watching. He is into satire and all sorts of cool things, which now I'm going to have to go look up all the stuff that he's done and watch it all. But this is basically the story of the cast and the crew of the UK's Big Brother when the zombie apocalypse hits. They are filming the Elimination night on Big Brother at the Big Brother house in their little Big Brother compound, basically when the zombie apocalypse goes down. And you can just imagine. This is, it's got some funny moments to it, but this is like a dead serious zombie tale. And it was really, really good. Now, you can watch this on YouTube.
Legally?
It is up on YouTube, and I watched this quite a while ago, and I checked right before we sat down to do this show to make sure that the videos were still up. And some Spanish language channel has a playlist of all of the episodes of Dead Set. There were 5 episodes. The first episode, I think, ran for about an hour, and all of the other episodes ran for about half an hour. So it's really not a huge time investment, and you can sit there and so basically in the space of, a longish movie, watch the whole thing. I will put a link to that playlist on the blog post, but it's really very good, and I couldn't help but compare it to, of course, our big zombie show here, The Walking Dead. Compared to The Walking Dead, this show, well, one, it has a much more diverse cast, but it's very, very gory and very violent. The Walking Dead has had, its share of gore, but there is a lot of gore in Dead Set. And I don't know what channel it aired on over there, but it was not a regular network, because there's a lot of language and a lot of blood and guts. And it's a serious take on what would happen. So it's basically following the story of a lowly assistant on the production team of Big Brother named Kelly, and what happens when the zombie apocalypse hits. They're in the middle of a big party. It's Elimination night. And you've got all of the clueless people trapped in the Big Brother house. They have no clue what's happened. The zombie apocalypse hits. You've got tons of crowd outside the Big Brother house, just like would happen in any reality TV show where they're filming. You've got your obsessive fans who are there for the party, who are there for the spectacle, and then they all get zombified and get into the production house and all of that. But the house itself, because it's designed to keep the contestants locked inside and under control, the house itself is safe. The contestants inside have no idea what happens until they wake up the next morning, and none of the cameras appear to be working, and they can't get into the diary room to complain about each other, and nobody, set off the alarms to wake them up in the morning and all of that. So Kelly's one of the few survivors in the building of the initial attack. One of the other.
Because Kelly means warrior.
Yes. She fends off a few and hides, and the producer is a real character. He's like any reality TV show producer you could imagine. He's kind of a horrible person. He's kind of a jerk. And he gets trapped in a room with the contestant that got eliminated, who is not the sharpest knife in the drawer. And he can't stand her. And so that's some of the most amusing stuff that goes on in the show, are their interactions. But Kelly's got a boyfriend who's out in the wide world when this happens, and he's trying to get back to her at the Big Brother house and all of these things. I don't want to give the story away, but this is a very satirical look at reality TV and basically, these zombies that follow it in the form of a zombie apocalypse. So I really, really loved it. Any of you that know me, when you get to the end, you will know why I loved this show so much. It's got a great ending. I love the ending. And I think all of you will enjoy it because, of course, obviously, if you're listening to this, you love zombies too, because we love zombies. And it's a great show. A lot of violence. There are fast zombies, though, okay? If you've got a real problem with fast zombies, the zombies in this one are fast. They're very fast.
Yeah, I mean, I'll accept it. My preference is shambling always, but
yes, they're fast. It does make it a lot more scary when the zombies can sprint after you, but they are fast zombies. That's the only nitpicking area that I really had with it. It was good fun. Not something to try to watch with the kids. Like I said, there's a lot of language, a lot of gore. The death scenes are really pretty good, and there are some really good ones at the end that go on forever, and you're starting to wonder, how can someone keep talking this long while they're being ripped apart? But it's good. I loved it. It's called Dead Set. It came out originally in 2008, and it is up on YouTube at this very moment for your watching pleasure. And I would like to mention, just vaguely, where I originally heard about this was from somebody that I've talked about several times on the show, Mr. Mike Bennett, the author, podcaster of Underwood and Flinch. He's got a Patreon up where he started his own zombie show on there, and in one of his little Patreon casts where he talked about why he never pursued that particular storyline was because there were so many zombie things out, and he mentioned this show in particular as one that he thought was really good. And I was like, well, if it's good enough for Mike Bennett, then I seriously need to go check this out. And I Googled it, and what do you know? It came up on YouTube. So I took a page out of Kelly's book, and I watched it for free on YouTube.
That's the way to go. It's the way God intended us to consume media.
As long as you have internet.
Yeah. Yes. That's
yes.
So how many episodes total?
There were 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Running
so
about.
The first one ran for the actual no commercial time on the YouTube video. I think was about 45 minutes for the first episode, and then everyone after that was like 25.
Okay.
So not a lot of time. You can watch them back to back and get the full visual.
Very cool. So that I like free.
Mm-hmm.
I feel sorry that poor girl has a guy's name. It's probably tough for her, but I'm sure she's recovered. But no, it sounds really cool. Yeah, I had never heard of that. That sounds really, really great. And so I'm not familiar with the UK's network structure. I know from my Monty Python viewing that there's a BBC One and a BBC Two, and that's about all I know. And so I doubt this was on either of those.
No, I think it was on something called E4 or something like that. I don't know. I should have written it down, but I would have to say this would have to be their equivalent of our HBO or Showtime or something, because there's a lot of language. There's not a lot of nudity, but there's a lot of language.
Not good language, so.
A lot of blood, a lot of gore. So.
Language and gore. What
Yes.
more can you?
Language, gore, zombies, and free. You can't beat that.
There you go. Excellent. Cool. Well, my recommendation is also free,
Cool.
and oddly enough, also on YouTube. So shocker amongst shockers, I haven't been kind of frittering around online so much because I've been doing the reading thing a lot lately, like everyday reading. So this
Wow.
and recent trip through moments of idiocy, I managed to forget my iPad, and I had Ready Player One as a paperback book that I got through Loot Crate. Said, "Oh, I'll bring it. Good. I'll finally knock that off." Forgot that, and so there I sat at the airport, angry, irritated that my time wasters were gone. I had a couple podcasts to listen to, but that was about it. So I'm trudging my way through the Game of Thrones, Songs of Fire and Ice series, and at a pretty good clip because I've taken care of Game of Thrones already, and I'm halfway through Clash of Kings. So I'm moving along. So, but when I'm not reading, I'm wasting my time on YouTube, and boy, did I find a place to waste my time, and also solve what has been a great hole in a gap in my life, which is I do not own a forge, partially because I didn't know how one might go about making a forge. Mm-hmm. But I now know how to do that. And not only can I make a forge, I can make a forge in an attractive bucket that can double as a planter when I'm not using it as a forge.
Cool.
When I use it as a forge, what I will be doing is watching. So first of all, I better give you the recommendation. So it is The King of Random. And Grant Thompson is the king of random, and it's a whole series of how-to videos. Many fun how-to videos, including things like the world's simplest semi-automatic rubber band handgun. So how you can set up a rapid-fire rubber band handgun from there. How to make Lego gummies. How to make a kind of a safe. All sorts of life and hacks. One that I'm not going to be viewing anytime soon is how to make a business bucket. And it appears that the business bucket was a bucket to do business in if you're in the wild. I'm sure it's a well-designed idea, but it's not on my short list. Okay. Where I stumbled across it initially was way back in the day. A young Kelly Toole liked to kind of fiddle around with the Estes rockets and did a lot of model rocketry because that's what a geeky boy would do, and had a lot of fun with that. But even at that time, in the 18th century, rocket engines were fairly expensive, and he had several different hacks on how you can actually make a rocket engine very cheaply that works just like an Estes rocket engine. Shows you how you build it to have a delay and to have the kind of one of a lot of the cool engines would launch the rocket up. When it gets to a certain height, there's a delay, and then it shoots out the other way and fires out the parachute. Showed you how you made that. And it's just really cool. He's done sugar rockets and all sorts of other different types of things, and how to make a rocket out of duct tape. It's all very cool things. But most importantly, the forge. And so I want to talk about the forge more because there's multiple videos tied to the forge, because the end game here is for me to make an aluminum sword.
All right.
Or an aluminum handgun, but I don't think I want to do that because it's a simulated gun. It looked pretty cool, but basically the whole combination of the forge and how to make aluminum ingots and how to do some of this casting are a series of videos that you kind of watch, but it all starts with the forge.
This sounds like Skyrim.
Yeah, well,
I do all of this in Skyrim.
Yeah, and so now you can do it at home as well, real time.
Cool.
But it's just the videos are they're the length they need to be, but they're usually at like 5 to 7 to 8 minutes long. he explains things really well and clearly. He demonstrates and shows you how to make it, and so like I've seen a lot of these out there, and eventually I go, okay, here's where I'm out. It's just like, well, then you just do this or that, and it's like I don't have that equipment or whatever. But by and large, everything he does is pretty attainable. For the forge, the only kind of trick for me is that you need a crucible to actually melt the aluminum in, which needs to be kind of a fairly thick steel thing, probably about 3 inches in diameter and kind of cup shaped to do that. What he recommends, the best thing for that is you take a exhausted fire extinguisher and hacksaw it off, and you get the crucible off the bottom half of the fire extinguisher. Now that's the risky part for me, because I have a feeling if I do that, the fire extinguisher I start with, I want to be really 100% sure it's depressurized before I hacksaw into it. So that's the one part I'm a little bit, but everything else looks super straightforward. But they're really great informative videos, and a lot of this stuff tied around this deal where you build this forge, and you basically create a heat source and force some additional iron to get the temperature. It's built with kind of some heat dampening in it. Inside the bucket, the crucible, and then you just take aluminum cans and you pop them in there, and it's at a heat where it just basically melts them almost instantaneously. And oddly enough, when a aluminum can, which is got a little bit of paint and stuff on the outside and all that stuff goes away when you melt it, and you basically get there's some slag on the top you need to deal with. But he kind of showed, here's how you build the forge, here's how you melt some cans. Here's kind of a cool way you can pour your molten aluminum into muffin trays and create these little ingots, and then you keep a bunch of these ingots around for when you want to get to the important business of casting your sword. And then a lot of what he shows there, and it's a really cool approach, is you take kind of styrofoam, various kinds of either foam board or styrofoam, layer it, cut it, and get it to basically create the shape of the sword, or he has an example of making a handgun as a shape just out of the foam to begin with. You take that foam shape, you bury it in sand, you've attached one other piece of foam to the top, which is coming out, which is where the pour is going to go down into the spot. You get out your aluminum ingots, you melt them up, you pour it in, voila! And they come out looking really cool. So some clever ideas. If you're not up to a forge, and I don't know why you wouldn't be, I think we all need a forge, but if you aren't, there's plenty of other things in terms of slingshots, exploding balloons, as I mentioned, rockets, just all kinds of clever things that's gone through there. He's got over 4 million subscribers, so there's a lot of folks that take advantage of it from there. Some of his more recent ones are how to make exploding balloons, and he utilized SpongeBob for the exploding balloon, which was kind of nice. Dyeing eggs and all sorts. Laser-assisted blowgun. Kind of handy from there. And I haven't looked at the plasma ball, but you can do a plasma ball, but I gotta figure that's hard. I can't think that that's quite as easy. But Star Wars gummies, all sorts of fun things. So it's a good, really cool thing to look through, and even if you don't do it, it's kind of cool to see what he does.
Yeah, I'm wondering how hot his forge gets to melt those cans, because I'm wondering why you couldn't use like a cast iron ladle. Cast iron's pretty heat resistant. I don't know.
Yep, that could work. Yeah, we can maybe include a link to one of the pop can foundry, and you can kind of see it. But it looks really cool. Fun stuff to do. So it's worth a look. And if you're into rocketry, you can figure out how to make some pretty cool engines without too much effort there as well. And that also looks pretty straightforward. But I think I'm going to be forged focused for a while and try.
I like the sound of this forge.
Yeah, it could be fun. And it's a building block, because you do that to be able to make your ingots, and then once you've got ingots, the world's your oyster, because then you can start to create all kinds of cool things. So it looks kind of fun.
Cool. I like that. And what was his name again?
His name, you would ask just as I left that there. One moment. Grant Thompson. Grant Thompson, and it's King of Random.
King of Random.
The King of Random. And so it's pretty fun stuff. He's got a nice little King of Random logo, which is a yellow triangle with a crown. So good stuff. I really said it's fun fun little time wasters, all sorts of cool things like that. So
Cool. I
good
like
to
the
see
sound
it.
of that. I like DIY crafts.
This is one of the more fun. And and you've brought up a couple before. And it's nice when somebody who does that, who does a good job at explaining things, and is smart about how they film it, so you can actually, you're trying to understand. And if there's ways you can film that make it easier for you to understand, and there are ways you're like, oh, I have no idea what he's doing there, but
Yeah.
he's a good one.
Cool.
Alrighty, we'll move to social media recommendations. I think it'll just be me this week, if I'm correct, Mel.
Yep, I'm a social media pariah.
So I'm fairly certain I haven't recommended him before. I didn't bother to go back and check, but I'm fairly certain I haven't recommended Keith Allan, have I? From ZNation.
Not that I remember.
Murphy. So they've been starting to run.
If you have, it's well worth a second one.
Absolutely. So I'm a big ZNation fan. It's really fun. I'm a bigger Murphy fan. The criminal who was bitten by zombies and is the savior of the world and is just the smart Alekiest guy ever. Very, very. He's a rascal, but it really fun to enjoy. When last we saw him, all his skin was peeling off as he left a facility where nuclear rockets were incoming. So it'll be interesting to see how they get out of all of that.
Yeah.
But they've begun to show some clips for the next season, and it looks like Murphy is in rare form.
Cool.
He's like, it's the apocalypse, time to party, and he's turned an interesting shade of blue at this point in time.
Nice.
And wears a jaunty hat, so it's always good to that. But Keith Allan, very interactive on Twitter during the show, fun guy. I've always been Team Murphy. From there on Twitter, Amy Figueroa and I have been working hard to form the Team Murphy fan club because we're both huge fans. It looks like awesome character progression. Keith is very cool and very friendly on Twitter, and his Twitter handle is @KeithAllan. ALLAN @KeithAllanActor. It's all one word, @KeithAllanActor. And for a while I thought his last name was Allan Actor, which is not. Keith Allan.
That's a
actor.
long one.
so very normal last name, not Allan Actor, but it's a fun guy. It's a good follow, and ZNation's coming up, and if you're not watching it, you probably ought to think about it.
It's up on Netflix, so you don't have an excuse if you have a Netflix account, because it really is very good. I really enjoyed that show, with the exception of one episode.
Yeah, there was
that no one liked. But it was a really fun show. That was zombies done well and entertainingly. I enjoyed it. So, and he is phenomenal. I love him. He's my favorite character.
Yeah, and it looks like it only gets better. I mean, he was a big character, big personality, and it looks like it only gets bigger going into the next season, which, this is sci-fi's take on zombies, so you got all that additional coolness to throw in there.
It's fun. Definitely a fun show. So I think that brings us to Kelly's traditional, his new tradition.
Yes, and speaking of unpleasant people, since we just talked about how Murphy's a little unpleasant, speaking of unpleasant people, mildly charming, we'll give him mildly, we're going to turn it over to Matt, who's going to tell you all the many ways that you can connect to Nurture and Support. We hope you do, whether it's through iTunes, love it if you'd write a review, Stitcher, YouTube, and all the rest. So we'll turn it over to Matt, and with that, I say I'll see you next week.
We will definitely see you next week. Thanks, everybody.
You can contact us on our website, nurtureandsupport.net, or email us at nurtandsupp@gmail.com. That's NURTANDSUPP@gmail.com, or tweet us at nurtandsupp on Twitter. You can also catch Nurture and Support on YouTube. Just search Nurture and Support or Kelly Toole.
Nurturing and supporting Charlie.